see him move like that. Like what? Like that. When you see him move like that, just like that. We are Activision Blizzard Media. It's really great to be here. Thanks, everyone, for the opportunity to be here. We're here to talk today about the future of immersive advertising. Now, I have no idea what others have been talking about so far because we've been in other parts of the building. But I would hope and I would imagine that we're all sort of converging on at least two salient facts. Salient fact number one is that gaming is already big. Over 3 billion people in the world play games. And it's growing really fast. Double-digit CAGR. It's happening. People are all playing games, everyone around the world, across demographics, across audience segments, across cultures. The one thing we know is that kids in California playing Call of Duty have more in common with kids in China playing Call of Duty than they do with their own grandparents. The world is getting bigger, but it's also getting smaller, and gaming is part of the social construct that's actually bringing us together and carrying forward the idea of a global village. And so one thing that we want to add to the conversation today is that the future of advertising is immersive, because the future of entertainment is also immersive. Advertising and entertainment, they have a bond that advertising obviously pays for entertainment. You don't get from 3 billion people playing games to 8 billion people playing games without changing the price of those games. And so there has to be ad-supported entertainment. We know it's coming. How is it going to come? What does it look like? What are the primitives going to be, the technical challenges we have to overcome in order to make this happen? I'm Matt Harris, by the way. I'm responsible for product management, Activision Blizzard Media. In a couple of moments, Melinda Spence will also be speaking with you. She's our global head of advertising insights. And of course, we represent a handful of iconic franchises, the games that people love to play. And of course, we represent hundreds of millions of engaged players across these franchises. And for me, I've been playing Activision games in particular my entire life. Used to come home from school and play Pitfall on my Atari. And I'm looking around the room, I see people who probably have a similar generation also doing the same thing. And these games have carried forward. Many people have been playing Call of Duty and others, for years. And so these are highly premium games with very, very deep personal connections that people have with them. And I think it's important for us to recognize that this doesn't just have the same kind of a approach to advertising. You can't just put a programmatic little block on the ad. It just doesn't work. At some point, the future of advertising has to match the quality of the content that it's in. And that's what we're talking about today. So the first point I really want to make is that not all games are created equal. That's a fact, right? There's lots of different ways to get into games. I assume that if you're an advertiser here interested in advertising in games, there's somebody here who will put you in a game before you get in a cab. You'll have an ad running in a game. There are lots of ways to get into games. And in fact, if it's mobile, there's even more opportunities, because over half of the people who play games are playing games on mobile. Actually, about 2.7 billion of the 3 billion people playing are playing on a mobile game. So there's plenty of opportunities to get in. But as I said, not all games are created equal. There really needs to be, I think, a premium experience and something that we build to make this connect, because ultimately, the gaming experience lives and dies on how the game connects with players. And we have to make sure that if ads are going to have a voice, they're going to have a place, which we know they must, they have to adapt to the content that they're in. Because gaming, as I said, is immersive. And it's super important for the ads to also be immersive. So what are we talking about? Are there really ads today in Call of Duty or Diablo? No, of course not. There are not. However, we know the future calls for something like that, because obviously the need is to make games approachable for everybody. I've been in ad tech for a very long time. And the one thing that keeps me going all these years is the knowledge that we're keeping the internet free for people who otherwise would have to sign up for a subscription to access 10 websites. And so the fact is, we're all here because there's an opportunity for us to democratize and to bring joy to people in the world, and that's what Activision's always stood for, and that's what we believe we have to do, right? And so we're building the future. These are mock-ups of future things we want to bring to the world. And these are ideas that we have. We're talking with studios about them. We're talking with advertisers about them. We're trying to figure out where the common ground is, because we exist to serve advertiser, studio, and players, and build trust and value for all three of those. And so we have goals and guardrails that make sure that we're able to satisfy all three of those. And we want to make sure that the experiences we put forth are great. And so we're building the ideas of how do you actually interact with a billboard in a game? How do you target billboards to different players playing the same game at the same time? Should you even do it? Like, how does that work? How do you make something personalized while yet also not creepy, which is a common theme in advertising for the last 20 years? So we're building the future, but we also want to talk about the here and now. And of course, it all comes back down to the player experience, because ultimately we're here to make sure that advertisers get amazing outcomes by giving players incredible experiences. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off to Melinda Spence, our Global Head of Advertising Insights, to talk about some of the things we're seeing in the real world. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We are so happy to be here. And thank you, IAB, for having us. Okay, so my team, I think, has the best job in the world. We do advertising insights, and we get to do a lot of projects of thought leadership where we just follow our intuition as gamers. We follow our gamer path. And every piece of work that we do leads on to another piece of what I think is great research. So we've done a few pieces of work around social connecting within gaming, engagement within gaming. Of course, last year and this year, it's a lot of talk about attention. So thinking about these topics, it then led us to think about, okay, so what is a premium experience? What is a premium gaming experience? And being in advertising insights, what is a premium ad experience? We know that the future is in mobile. Previously, I guess, mobile games weren't really thought of as premium, maybe 5, even certainly 10 years ago, because the way that games were delivered on PC and console, they were able to deliver big experiences on big screens, high quality. If you think about Call of Duty, all of these games. But we know the future is in mobile with this 2.7 billion, like Matt mentioned. And we know that our phones have created these, the quality is there. They can create these experiences, mimic these experiences that used to be constricted to PC and console. You can even get Modern Warfare and play that on your mobile now because the quality is there. So this was great news for us because we first had to see if we can learn about premium games and premium ad experiences. We could only do that if mobile games were considered premium. And thank goodness, the results were clear. 73% of players considered mobile games to be a premium or to be high quality. And in fact, 99% of people, of these players, were able to say there was at least one attribute that made mobile games premium. And in fact, among the let's say real gamers, the PC and console gamers, and that stereotype is no longer true thanks to the prevalence of mobile games, but 69% of these PC and console players even said that mobile games can be premium. Knowing this was really helpful, so we had some research to go on. So now we could start looking into what actually makes a game premium. This was really hard to do because we couldn't lead with, what do you think a game is premium? We had to use another form where we didn't say that word. So what we did for the researchers in the audience, we did an implicit association test. It looks at the conscious and subconscious words that we use to describe something. We all have these conscious and subconscious thoughts related to mobile games, but of course to everything else in our lives. So we throw a bunch of words, not literally, we throw a bunch of words at players and we ask them to very quickly decide, do they elicit a positive or negative emotion? And based on the speed at which they answer these words or bucket these words, we came up with this. And you don't need to read it because I'm going to summarize it next. Players agree that premium games are fun, relaxing, satisfying, imaginative, and competitive. And in a second, you'll see that we also talk here about with competitive comes winnability. And this is a chain I have been involved with Candy Crush for quite some time. So premium games are not, as you would probably expect, costly, stressful, distracting, low quality, and a waste of time. So here comes, they want a challenge, but they want the ability to also overcome that challenge. Don't waste their time. And the table stakes for making a game be premium has to have these three things. High quality graphics, now this is PC, console, and mobile. High quality graphics, free to play for mobile specifically, and a challenging game. When we look at what games must have for mobile players and then also those who play against PC and console, they're broadly similar needs across both. What we see is with PC, console, and mobile players, they have unilaterally higher expectations across the board. So they have high expectations, and no matter where we're meeting them, we need to deliver. There are some things in this, and there is a long tail with this, but everyone expects high-quality game graphics, and this winnability, challenging game, the continuous updates, and all of that stuff. But some things like free-to-play are more leaning towards mobile games, and some things like the narrative, the story building, tends to crop up higher with PC and console games. Okay, so this is the crux of it. We determined that mobile games can be premium. We determined what makes a premium game, and now we're going to look at, finally, what makes a premium ad experience. These are the must-haves. This is what I would say. If you had to take one slide, I would take this slide to every brand, advertiser, agency. This is the checklist for an ad in a premium game. And you can see the bar here, but what I tend to do to try to remember it, if you're gonna have one takeaway, is that we call this GRINS, the acronym GRINS. So an ad experience that makes you smile. So to have GRINS, you need to have graphics that are high quality. The ad needs to be relevant to the person. It needs to be intrinsic to the gameplay. It needs to be non-interruptive, and it needs to be short. This is your equation for making a great ad. Finally, we know that there are some, let's say, table stakes for delivering a premium ad experience. You need to make it short. And short can be subjective, of course, and a lot of this, we are looking into ad length and ad engagement, so what makes you stay and distract you or engage you. And then we also know that over 3/4 of people prefer ads to be rewarded. So we've done some other research on this, looking at ad engagement and this value exchange between having the control over opting into an ad and then receiving the reward, the booster, the life, whatever it may be, in exchange for your time. So as I've taken you through all of this, you now know that mobile games can be premium, how to make them premium, and then finally, what makes a premium ad experience. So I'm gonna hand it back to Matt, who will talk you through how we're creating these experiences today.
Thank you, Melinda. Thank you. So, yeah, I definitely spent a bit of time at the beginning talking about sort of the future and trying to cast a bit of a vision and start to have some provocative thoughts maybe about where we're all headed with this and what the future holds. The fact is, over the time scale, it's hard to predict when something will happen. It's easy to predict what will happen, but sometimes it's very difficult to know when it will happen. So it's really important to come back and ground us in sort of what exists here and today and what we're working on, and some examples of things we've been able to do successfully in our titles with premium advertisers. And so one of the examples here actually, sorry, I'm distracted. One of the examples here actually reflects a really tight integration between an iconic brand working in this case Prada, working within Candy itself to build an ad unit that feels like it's in the game. Players who experience this ad unit actually went through it and were delighted to experience it. Many of them said they didn't even know that it was an ad. And I think that's a pretty high bar, and it's a good bar to be able to cross. And you can see here that this is a tight collaboration between the brand itself and between Candy. And the outcomes here kind of speak for themselves. Over 1,800% increase in weekly traffic, 40,000 perfume samples claimed within 24 hours. These are the types of results that you can get whenever you are open-minded, whenever you think about other types of objectives you can accomplish through working tightly with a game studio to pull off something like this. And I think in many ways this takes me back to what I got into advertising for in the beginning. When I first got into ad tech, I was working on rich media, the MRAID spec back in 2011. And the thought back then was all ads will be immersive. All ads on mobile will be great. People will love engaging with them. We have cracked the code. We have responsive ads. We have interactive ads, and we have the ability to do this. And then lo and behold, for the intervening 15 or decade or so, we sort of all went off the trail of it has to have a bunch of scale. There has to be programmatic ads. We have to be able to do things quickly and all those things. And I think what I'm really, really excited about is the ability to kind of get back to some very fundamental things that I've believed my entire career, which is there's an opportunity if you take the time, you build great creative, you think a lot about the players or the users who you're going to interact with, the consumers you want to interact with, and you respect the advertisers and advertising itself as a medium of communication. There's an opportunity to make a connection. There's an opportunity to deliver something more than just a visual message. And there's a way to deliver outsized outcomes by really investing. And in my mind, that's what we've been able to do with something like the playables. And of course, if you want to have scalable, rewarded video, we have loads of that as well. And I think it's an opportunity for now. There's a way for us to make different choices and for us to be able to do many, many different things. But right now, I think it's time to invest in immersive ads, which at some point will be universal and something that we all are in constantly. So anyway, I'm excited to be here, and thank you so much for the time. And I think that's it. Thank you so much.